Hey guys, so a little bit different of an episode here. So we are going to have Jason House, who's the CEO slash CVO of Iridium Sports Agency. Now, Iridium Sports Agency represents plenty of UFC fighters, over 100 of them to be not exact, but to kind of give you an idea. So Jason House is going to be on the show. I'm going to do a one-on-one interview. It's going to be a lot of business related talk. We're going to also highlight some of his fighters, such as Brandon Moreno and the Korean Zombie, who he sees in the future, what he does day to day. So this is going to be a lot different of an episode. It's not a real UFC fighter. He is, I believe, a black belt, which I will kind of go over with him. But this is going to be a very fun episode for me. If you guys aren't into the business scene, please check out yesterday's episode where we interviewed Bellator #7 middleweight Dalton Rasta. It's another great interview with him. So we hope you guys enjoy this. We're going to hope to have a lot more of these business interviews as well to kind of mix it in with the everyday fighter interviews. So let's have a good time here. We hope you guys enjoy this. If you guys want, please like, subscribe, do whatever you need to do. Put a comment in what you guys want us to ask in the future. We're also going to try to get more of these, as I said. So let's go over to the interview, and we thank you guys for sticking by us. All right, we are joined by Jason House, CVO of Iridium Sports Agency. Jason, how are you doing this nice Tuesday morning?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So we were just kind of talking about it a little bit, CVO versus CEO. I'm personally on the CVO side, just because that Chief Visionary Officer does sound a little bit less intimidating, maybe, than the Chief Executive Officer. Was that something that you and your team kind of discussed and given you that title?
Yeah, we were just, we do like a monthly reading of books, and one of the books that we were reading kind of discussed being like a chief vision officer, like having a vision. And when Jeremy and I were kind of discussing, that's really what a leader has to be, right? He has to be someone that has a vision and has a process that can lead to that vision. So it was something that we just kind of came up with, and it's just kind of a friendly reminder of what we're here for, right? I mean, this is a family, and we're ascending to the top, and in doing so, we have to stay the course.
Now, you guys are a family with, I believe, last week I was listening to the Schmo podcast.
Yeah.
You guys had 108 at that point. I believe you guys actually went up this last week, didn't you?
Yeah. We signed 3 more to the UFC last week. Tatsuro Taira, 125 flyweight, and then at Dana White looking for a fight, we signed Isaac Dolgarian and Josh Frem.
Now, you guys have a very impressive roster, and we'll get to that. But I just going scrolling through your Instagram. Obviously, you can just look at the bio of you. You have that law background, as well as you are a jiu-jitsu black belt. How did those two things end up like kind of combining, and now you are this massive CEO, CVO of such a premier agency within the UFC?
Yeah, when I was in college, I was playing baseball, and then after my senior year, I decided to go to law school. And then in law school, I kind of missed the camaraderie that came along with being part of a team and training every day. And so I had grown up wrestling, so I had kind of a grappling background, and so I started training at Team Oyama MMA in Irvine, California. And Jiva Santana, my jiu-jitsu coach, and Colin Oyama, the Muay Thai coach, they really are like my MMA parents, per se. They really brought me into the business, took me under their wing, guided me, kind of showed me the ins and outs, the do's, the don'ts. And so while being in law school, I just kind of thought, man, like this is a great market. I feel like the sport was growing. It's something I'm very passionate about. And that's kind of how the two met. I was using my law to kind of help review contracts and kind of go from there.
And now you're 100% correct that the sport was growing. Clearly, as we see now what UFC has done, Bellator is doing. You guys have, and this is something that someone we've talked to in the past. Terrence McKinney is one of the biggest standout guys that we've ever had on the show. We love Terrence. He had nothing but good things to say about you, which was something that kind of brought us to your Instagram, because I was like, if Terrence is saying all these good things about Jason, I want him on the show at some point just to kind of talk in the background.
Yeah.
And then what is like the day-to-day for you? Because when we were even planning this, you were saying, let's try for early morning so my phone's not going off the hook. How many calls are you getting a day? What is it like? What does the day look like? When are you done for the day, or try to be done? Because I'm sure it's never over.
I try to wake up like 4:30, 5 a.m. in the morning. I believe this morning routine allows me to be proactive in the morning. so that I can be reactive during the day, because during the day you're reacting to phone calls, emails, messages. You kind of have to be on standby for your clients and whatever their needs may be for that day. So the morning time allows me to, get my daily reading in, get my morning workout in, allow me to put some emails out into the world, game plan the week, go over some topics I want to discuss with the team. Allows me kind of really just to get my base right for the day. And then after that, I can really, once I've done all of my daily routine, I'm kind of free to kind of roam and do what I need to do for our clientele, because every day is a new day. Every day has a new adventure. You never know what's going to happen when the phone rings.
So let's start it off with this. What was the time of your first phone call this morning?
My first phone call this morning was 6:57.
Perfect. And that's Pacific time. So obviously out here in Chicago, a little bit later in the day. Yeah. Now, advice for someone that would want to be starting off, maybe they're a high school kid looking at the sports agency market. What would be your advice to that kid that maybe says like, hey, maybe I know I'm not good enough to be that athlete, but I want to be around the sport and I want to be someone that makes a difference in maybe other people's lives, which you obviously do with all your contract discussions with the UFC and other promotions. Like, what would be that one big piece of advice for you?
The biggest advice I would have is to entrench yourself in the industry as soon as possible and to find a good mentor to learn from. I think when you're able to get into the business, you get to see the ins and outs of it. You have a better understanding of the industry. I think, obviously your education is very important in school, but I feel like that those life skills, those in the market skills are priceless. You can't get them anywhere else. So I think the sooner you're able to get into the industry and meet other people and network, I mean, that word right there, network, I think is probably the most important. I think that's going to really allow you to get a head start and kind of truly find out if this is the passion, the career that you have, that you want to have, and that you're passionate about.
Awesome. And we'll kind of go into your fighters a little bit now. We'll start with the one that did just lose recently his belt, but is one of the biggest fan favorites of the sport. From the interview that I heard on the show, your wife absolutely adores him. Was so happy when you were able to sign him. Brandon Moreno, what has the experience been like having a guy that seems to always be positive? He just lost a title fight and there was nothing but smiles from the kid.
Yeah. Brandon's really one of a kind, and he'll say he's learned a lot from me, but I've learned a tremendous amount from him. I just think his outlook on life, his mentality, his attitude, like you mentioned, is one of a kind, and his ability to see the good in everything is something that I think makes him so special. And I truly believe that everything you're going through now in life is preparing you for the future. And I believe that everything that he has gone through previously with all his adversity has prepared him for this moment. Obviously when we lost that night, we were upset. Do I think we did enough to win? Yes, I do. Am I upset that we lost at this point? Yes, but it doesn't, nothing we can do to change it. It was a close fight. The judges scored it the way they scored it. And now the truth of the matter is we have a great opportunity to have a quadrilogy. It's the first time that's ever happened in this sport. It's the first time anyone's fought 4 times in a row for a title. And I think you have to look at the upside of that. And when I was in Brandon's room, we were in the room to like maybe 3 or 4 in the morning that night after we lost. And we kind of turned the tide right there, right? We kind of went from being upset that we lost and the decision to, hey, let's look at this from a positive perspective, that this is part of our legacy. And this is something that we can really, take ourselves to the next level with the victory here.
Yeah. And I mean, is that something that goes into your guys' discussions when you guys are looking to sign a fighter? Is how positive they are, what their personality is like? Because obviously there is risk with sometimes signing a fighter that maybe doesn't have the greatest background, such as Terrence. I mean, Terrence obviously is a very special person that is just amazing in all uses of the word. But there was probably risk with that.
I don't judge people on their past behaviors or past adversities. I kind of look at them as how they've overcome the adversities. Did they take those adversities and turn them into character building opportunities? I feel Terrence is a perfect example of someone that's had a lot of adversity in his life, and he's turned that adversity into character building opportunity. He's turned that adversity into an opportunity to mentor the youth and tell his story and to try and help others who are maybe going through similar situations. For us at the agency, I'm not chasing talent. I'm chasing high character people. I'm chasing people that have been through adversity. I'm chasing people that have been through life. Sometimes when I meet a prospective client, I want to know about their life. Tell me about your life. And I want to know the good, the bad, the ugly. I want to know that you've been through some stuff, because that's the only thing I can promise when in this business. There's going to be adversity, and I want to know that you've handled adversity and that you're excited to take that head on and turn into a character building opportunity. For me, I feel like talent can take you places your character's not ready to go. So for me, I just want great character people because I know the talent will come. I'll
Yeah.
take 100 Terrence McKinney's, 100 Brandon Moreno's, 100 Chito Veras. The list goes on. Alex Perez, you name them. We have a ton of great athletes that are even better human beings. And that's what I always want to be able to say that, hey, listen, they're amazing fighters, but they're even better human beings.
Yeah, and I'll say that about I'm not pronouncing it, by the way, correctly, Iridium.
Yep.
So I will say that you guys do a great job marketing your athletes. We always see them on like the Instagram stories where they're posting like other athletes that are getting signed by you guys,
Yeah.
and really kind of giving them a name before anyone else even has any clue who some of these guys are.
Yeah.
So I will say that you guys do a great job marketing it. You guys give them a positive look before they even step in front of millions of people, say it's at MSG or in T-Mobile. So you guys do a great job with that. And then someone that is facing adversity kind of right now, whether or not it's his fault or not, because it's not, is Korean Zombie. There's a lot of people out there that are upset that they moved off Max Holloway. Obviously, in my mind, if the Holloway fight was to still be going on, Korean Zombie was getting that next chance regardless anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So what has been like the message for him during this? Because there are a lot of people online that are against the decision, that they're still moving on with Korean Zombie, even though Holloway has been cleared.
You're never going to please everyone. That's something I've learned in this business. There are some people that are, thought Max Holloway didn't deserve a third chance because he'd already lost twice to him. There's some people that just thought he won the first couple fights and maybe he deserved the third chance. For me, I try to just focus on what we can control. What we control, this is an amazing opportunity. Korean Zombie's been a legend of the sport. He's put on some of the most amazing fights in the history of the UFC. And I'm really looking forward to this opportunity. And I think everyone knows that Korean Zombie is title worthy. And maybe they thought Max deserved it at this very moment, or whoever they may think, but Korean Zombie is the man. And I really truly believe that come April 9th, we're gonna turn some heads. Bruce Buffer is gonna say and new. And I know that his coach Eddie Cha is putting together a tremendous game plan right now, and we're gonna be well prepared for that evening.
I'll say it was the same kind of situation with Moreno versus Figueiredo the first time. It was 1 month in between their fights, and really, I think a lot of people were writing off Moreno. And then when that became that draw, I mean, due to the penalty to Figueiredo, we knew that there was going to be that second fight, and Moreno clearly dominated his way, became the first Mexican-born champ. The story is written itself in many ways. Now, you guys, with having so many athletes, how hard is that to manage? How many guys do you have under you working day to day?
We have a great team. Ed Cap handles all of our PR. Jacob Parker handles all of our marketing. We have agents, Jeremy Luchkow, who's like my partner in the business, Lance Spotty, Joe Wooster, another partner, Raul Arvizu. We have Ivan and Tomi over in Germany with our partnership over there. We have a great team, and we have a lot of marketing specialists that are working under Jacob right now. So we have a great team of people at our agency that are keeping our business strong, and we're constantly adding. We have Elliot Chester here in Las Vegas too, helping out on the daily. So we have a great team, and that allows us to focus on the clients. With Ed handling the PR and Jacob handling the marketing, and Lance handles a lot of the legal work now for me. He's also an attorney as well. It kind of allows us to have specialists in every field, so we're not a jack of all trades, master of none. And that allows me to kind of be free to be hands-on with the athletes and give them all my time and attention and love.
Perfect. And so one of my biggest questions is getting into the UFC. There's now plenty of avenues to get there. Now, but if you see a guy that maybe it was in Kansas City, well, this is a little bit different because Dana was there, so he was able to see the fights. But say you see a fight and you see a guy that looks extra special and he should be a UFC fighter. The UFC is obviously the top premier organization of the sport. Do you give Dana a call and kind of say like, hey, check this kid out? Or how does that like whole thing work when trying to get them into the organization?
So for example, like say you sign a young athlete, I'm at an event, I see a kid, say he's 3 or 4-0, and you sign him, you're like, wow, this kid has a lot of good potential. We start working with him and his team. I will notify Sean, hey, listen, or Mick, whoever weight class it is. we have this athlete. I think he's gonna be very good. Take a look at him. Here's some film so far. Follow up on him. Maybe he's not quite ready yet, but I just want to get him on your radar and let you know that this kid's on the rise. That's usually what happens. And the second part to that is really working with his coaching staff to ensure the developmental process goes smoothly, because for everyone, it's different strokes for different folks, right? Some fighters have been ready to go in the UFC. I think, what was it, Cain Velasquez? I think he went in like at 2-0. And I have some fighters like Alex Perez, I believe, had over 20 fights when he got into the UFC. So everyone's different. I don't think there's a wrong way or right way. I think it's constant analyzation after every fight, seeing where they are, seeing their development, seeing their growth, and kind of making that decision based on that.
So that's how they kind of lead it into, like, say if they are going to fight on the Contender Series, or if they end up in Tough. That makes a lot of sense to me. Someone you mentioned earlier, Chito Vera, has the one victory over someone that's kind of become larger than life in Sean O'Malley. Do you see that rematch getting made anytime soon? I feel like Chito is in a different league than Sean, until, I mean, Sean's going to say that he needs to get paid before he fights again, but do you see that fight happening soon?
I don't know about soon. I think somewhere down the road, that fight's going to happen again, just so we can put this to bed, because apparently beating him once wasn't enough. But I have all the respect in the world for Sean, and, he's doing his thing, but right now we're doing ours, and we're encroaching in on the top 5. And that's what we need to focus on. If their paths cross, we have no problem fighting him again. The fight's been on the table. The rematch has been on the table before, and we've said yes, so if that needs to happen, it'll be, right now, my main concern is really taking Chito to the top.
Yeah, now Chito had a huge performance at MSG. I was in attendance of that event. Outside of probably the Chandler Gaethje fight, he probably had the largest amount of people backing him. And that was crazy because Frankie Edgar was a New York product. So Chito is awesome. I love seeing him on these interviews. So I'm sure he's only going to rise. I believe he's 32 years old?
No, he's young. He turned 29 in December.
I didn't realize he was that young.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
what he's done is in such a little time is amazing. And I don't think people realize, like, just his story. If you really start from his time in Ecuador, it's phenomenal. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's definitely an international talent. That's just kind of flying under the radar, sort of. I mean, not enough people are talking about him, but they really should be. How many fights? So do you have off weekends? Because obviously with such a huge roster, how many fights are you attending for the UFC because you have someone in there? Do you kind of tell Sean and Mick Maynard, like, hey, can I get this weekend off? Maybe don't book any of my fighters. Like, how does that whole thing work?
I think if my wife asked Sean and Mick, she could probably get it done. They like her more than me, but I don't know. I don't know if I could get away with that. And the truth of the matter is, we pretty much. I think we do actually right now. We have a fighter on every card this year so far. I mean, multiple fighters on every card. Usually, like, I think the last week in January was like a quote unquote dead week, right? I think there's another one coming up in April or May, and when we have those weekends, my wife and I usually take a vacation with our friends and family. We'll go somewhere for a couple of days and get away. There's some weekends like this weekend where, I'm at a UFC Saturday and I flew, caught the red eye, got to Kansas City in the morning on Sunday, and then flew back to Vegas on Monday morning, just to be there for the team. And I think, the one part of success is that sometimes I feel like people get success and then they kind of ease off the pedal. For me, I just feel like I'm just hitting second gear. I'm trying to throttle that thing to 120. I'm trying to take it to the max. I don't want to be on my deathbed having any regrets. And for me, I think, Coach Saif Saud said this to me once. I think it was like might have been 2, maybe even 3 years ago right now. He pulled me aside and he said, you know what, Jason, you're doing really good, man. You've had a really good year. But let me tell you something. Anyone can have one good year in a row. You need to go on a decade. He said, you need to go fuck a decade up. He said this to me, that you got to own a decade. You got to be a Dan Gable at Iowa wrestling. You got to be a Coach K at Duke basketball, a Nick Saban Alabama football. That's your legacy. And at the time, I was just really happy with a good year, right? We had signed a lot of guys at UFC. I was trying to make some money. I'm like, wow, this is great. Like, life's good. Got a wife now, and everything's going great. But he really changed my perspective, and I love him and respect him so much for doing that, because I needed someone to move the marker for me, and he did that. And he's someone that's always been one of my biggest supporters and confidence through this growth.
So that this can probably be my last question for you. When you are signing that fighter, obviously it's no secret that you guys get paid based on how much they get paid. Is there like a set percentage? Are you working on that per fighter? Do you like go into the contract talk saying like, hey, this is what we get as the standard cut? How does that whole thing work?
So for us, our contract is the same contract for everyone. It's a standard contract, but it does have tiers where like the percentage drops at certain price points.
Gotcha. So Brandon Moreno is probably not paying you the same amount as the guy that's on the prelim card. Percentage wise.
Yeah, it just depends. I mean, that's tough because some fighters in the prelims are actually making really good money, right? There's some guys that have been in the UFC for a long time, so it's hard to say.
Perfect. Do you have anything else that you want to kind of shout out? Any organizations that you're part of? Where to find you on social media?
And I think FAC did a phenomenal job this past Sunday at their event. It was on Fight Pass, and Dana White Looking for a Fight was there. I thought that was one of the best crowds I've seen. I think they almost had 5,000 fans there. It was amazing. So I want to thank, the promoters and everyone of FAC, Scott Cupworth, Joe Wooster, and their team over there for putting on a phenomenal event. And I'm looking forward to going to Fury FC and UFC this weekend in Houston. And, LFA, again, they put on a phenomenal event that Friday last week too. And we had a couple good winners on there as well. So I'm just thankful for all the regional shows that are the lifeblood of our sport, because those are the ones that are producing tomorrow's talent, and they're the ones giving those guys opportunities. And forgive me if I didn't name a certain promotion, but there's a lot that we work with that are just amazing, and they do a great job.
Awesome. And I do think part of that helps that Nelk boys were there. Definitely. All right, Jason, it's been a pleasure having you. We hope to have you back on the show again soon.
Okay, talk soon.